Greetings of the day. I am K. Ramakrishna Reddy, Assistant Professor of English, Department of Basic Science and Humanities in BVRIT Institute of Technology, Narsapur. And the course name is English for Skill Enhancement. And today's topic, which we are going to discuss about note making. Here I'm going to discuss about the note making and that importance. When coming to the English, we have out of 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. We thought that writing is a productive skills, and why? Because these days, especially engineering students, they are lagging in writing. So that's what in that writing skill, this note making is a very important skill, because how to take the notes, it's very important. These will helpful for the students to compete for the examinations. And here in this video, I'm going to clearly explain about that importance of note making, and the effective process of preparing notes. It's very important, and it's short written record of facts to aid the memory. So note making is nothing but effective process of preparing the notes. So this is just like one kind of the document, and we need to follow some kind of the keys while preparing the notes. And we are discussing about the importance of note making, and there were the 4 points. The first point is that keeps a lot of information about our disposal for ready reference. So before going to make the notes, keep a lot of information at our disposal for ready reference. Whatever is required, the prerequisites for taking the notes. So we need to make it ready for that. And the second point is to record a speech or dictation while listening to it or after reading a book. So if you want to take a notes from the book or from any kind of the video, the foremost thing we need to do that, to record a speech or a dictation while listening after reading a book. And the third important point is helps us to reconstruct what was said and written, and those accelerates the process of remembering or recalls. So this is also very important point. Taking a notes, it helps us to reconstruct what was said or what was written, and those accelerates the process of remembering and recalling. So anytime after the taking a notes, it helpful to recollect it and remembering that information. And last, the fourth most important point is useful to students preparing so many subjects. So while taking a notes, because in every lecture from the lecturers, the students will take notes. So these all notes will helpful to the students to prepare so many subjects. So these were the 4 important points. It comes under the note making. And we are going to discuss about the useful for note making also. The first foremost useful for note making, preparing a reports. So if you take the notes based on that information, based on that inputs, you can prepare a report on any incident or any kind of the situation. First thing is that we can prepare a report. And second one is about delivering a speech. While when you are going to deliver any speech, when you are going to make a conversation with anybody, so this note making will helpful, because you have written in a way, in a shortcut way, to give some kind of the keywords. So that will helpful to give a speech. And third one, participating in debate and discussion. So before going to participate any kind of the debate or discussion, so this note making will helpful. These by seeing the note making, you can participate in the debate and group discussion. And next one, writing an essay. So when you are going to write any kind of the essay, this note making will helpful, because you have written in a very short way with some kind of the keywords. So these will helpful to write an essay writing also. And taking an interview. So before, when you are going to face any kind of the interview, the note making will helpful very much for you as a prerequisites. And another one, revising lessons. The students will listen for 4 months for a semester period. So while taking a lecture notes every time, So when they go for the examination, these note making will helpful to revise all the lessons from the beginning. So they recollect all the knowledge and then they prepare for the examination. And the next point is about summarizing a text. So when you are going to summarize any kind of the text, your note making will helpful very much. And last foremost thing is that doing survey. Before going to doing any kind of the survey, your note making will helpful very much. So these were all the useful information, how to prepare the report, speech, when you are participating in a debate and group discussion, and when you are writing an essay, and interview skills, lessons, and summarizing any kind of the text. And finally, for doing any kind of the survey, your note making will helpful very much. So here, because the engineering students have to follow some kind of the techniques while taking the notes, because some subjects they have a very small specific books, and some subjects they need to refer some different kind of the books, so they need to study a different kind of articles. So in that way, while reading a large text, so they have to make the notes. So in that process, they have to follow some kind of techniques. These kind of the techniques will helpful to revise all the subject, and which is very much useful to go for the examination as well. And next, some of important points to remember while taking the notes. So the first point is about you avoid using long sentences and headings and titles. So while taking the notes, when you are making the notes, so better avoid a long sentences and long headings and titles. You try to make it a very short. You have to write it as only abbreviations for your remembrance. And the second point, never lose the main idea of the passage. And it's a very important thing before going to take a notes. Very important thing is that don't avoid or don't forget about the main idea of the passage. So because you cannot deviate the topic, or you cannot go beyond the topic. So that's what, while taking a notes, while note making, so it's a very important thing is that you cannot deviate it from the topic. So your focus should be only on main idea. And the third point is about ignore the information which is less important. So whatever is not much important in that context or a situation, better try to avoid it, because you need to write it in a very short way, in a very short time you will get. So within the span of the time, you need to cover all that information. So better leave that unimportant information. And next point, be brief, clear and specific about your topic or a situation or any kind of the case. So while note making, so keep these points very importantly. So it should be very clear about the topic, and you should be very brief about the topic and specific about the topic. And another very remembering point is use logical sequence and proper indection. So while taking the note making, don't forget to write it in a logical sequence order, like one by one, and you have to follow only the chronological order, like from the present to past. So you have to follow that order in a logical sequence manner, and proper indection also important. And another important point, don't include your own version or understanding. Okay, so while note making, you have to make the notes only from that the main idea which is given by the speaker. So here, don't include your own version or understanding. So don't write by your own. So whatever which is given by the speaker, either lecturer, so you have to take as it is. So you have to make it in that same order. So don't don't put your own ideas and don't put your imaginative ideas, and it leads to some ambiguity. So better try to avoid it. And another point is about use abbreviations and symbols. This is very important point. So here you need to use some kind of the abbreviations. Okay, short form, because as you know that abbreviation means like short forms. So you can remember that there are three types of abbreviations. One, you can take the first letter and you can create it as a letters only. For example, if you take like a BVRIT, the full name is B.V. Raju Institute of Technology. So here you are taking the first letters and you are preparing, you are pronouncing as a letters only. This is a one kind of the abbreviation. And the second thing, taking a first letters and pronouncing as a complete one word. For example, VIPER. So this is a one abbreviation. It stands for Vishnu Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. So here you are taking first letters, but you are pronouncing as a one word. Okay. So here you are pronouncing as a letters. And another third one, short form, and making it as a short. For example, as a professor, you are not writing a complete professor. You will write PROF. Or a doctor, you will write as a DR. For Mr., you will write a MR. So in that way, you can make all these things. So this is one of the way for using abbreviations. And last point is that give the list of abbreviations and also their complete form in the box. So better when you are writing, when you are making the notes, when you are writing these kind of abbreviation, better write the full names in this, full names in it. Okay. So this is a thing we need to follow. These are the points which we have to remember while note making. See, while making the notes, so you need to follow some very important headline, important mechanisms. So here we will discuss about the mechanics of note making. So what are the important points we need to follow it? What are the techniques we need to follow it while making notes? The first important is that heading. So what is the main idea of the passage? Frame a heading based on the central idea, written it in the middle of the page. So your heading should be the main idea of the passage. So main idea you will find it only in the beginning of the paragraphs, or in the first line or second line you will find the main idea. So keep that main idea as a heading. Okay, and frame a heading based on the central idea and written in the middle of the page. So central idea will be given in the middle of the page. Okay, so that is the first point. You have to create the heading while making the notes on any topic. Next is subheadings. Subheadings you can write 4 or 5 main points maximum, and how has the main idea has been presented and developed. So your subheading is completely based on how the main idea is framed. Okay, so you can take here 4 to 5 main ideas, 4 to 5 subheadings. Are there you can write it as 2 to 3 as a subordinate and associated ideas as well. So here the thing is that you are taking a main idea and you are writing 2 or 3 or 4 subheadings. Under that each and every subheading you are writing 2 to 3 subordinate and associate ideas as well. So in that each and every subordinate idea you can write some kind of associated ideas as well. So that is the second point. Third point about points. Okay, now are there further details or points of subtitles that you wish to keep in these notes? So while preparing the note making, you can keep the points as well. Points you can give any kind of the bullet point or arrow mark like that, or you can give 1, 2, 3 also. So these were the 3 points for mechanisms of note making. And for this continuation, the 4th point is about abbreviations and symbols. So this is very important. While making a notes, you should know very clearly how to write the abbreviations and symbols. For example, here minimum 4 common abbreviations and symbols you can use it. For example, USA, okay, and CBSE. So these are the abbreviations you can use it. And for science you can write SC in a short form. And for these like Mr., Mrs., Doctor, okay, positive, negative, etc. So these all were the abbreviations you can use it while note making. And keep the main sounds of the word. For example, ADN. ADN is a you can write it in a short form for the full name of educational. And for program you can write as a program, PROGM. Okay, programming. So instead of a lengthy word or a lengthy sentence, you can write these kind of the abbreviations. And retaining the suffix so that later when you are going over the notes, you may recall the full form. So, and remember, while note making, so you have to retain the suffix so that later when you prepared that notes, you may recall the full forms. For example, educational, you can write it like this, ed apostrophe nal, educational. So while later when you are reading that same notes, you can remember the full name. Okay, programming, you can mention like this, prog apostrophe and ve. So in that way, you can create some kind of the abbreviations. And there were some important points which is given with a star mark, Don't get over enthusiastic about abbreviations. This is very important. Whatever abbreviations which are used in the dictionary, which are very famous and people are using in their written text. So use only those abbreviations. Don't get over excited. One abbreviation in the point is enough. So for every point, better use only one abbreviation. Okay, don't go more than that. And another important point, the headings should not be abbreviated. So while for example, you are taking making a notes about a note making. So this note making, don't make it as a NM. So your heading should not be as a abbreviation. And the last fifth point, very important point, numbering and indication. So how to give the numbers and how to give the indications for it. All the points and subs headings should be probably numbered. So all the points and your subheading should be probably numbering. For example, you are describing about some information and you are writing some kind of the points. Points should be numbered it like this. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Okay. For example, if you want to give a subheadings under it, so better write it as a and B, A and B, A and B or C, like this. So these you can take it as a subheadings. Okay. And all points should also maintain the same distance from the margin. So this is very important. All the points should maintain the same kind of the length, same kind of the distance from the margin side. So these you have to follow. These were the mechanisms while making the notes. And there were some useful tips to start with. So better before going to note making. So you have to start with these kind of the important useful things. We will follow by step. I'll discuss about one by one. For example, step 1. Read the passage carefully and try to get what it is about. So before going to make the notes, read the passage very carefully and try to get what it is about. What is the main idea in the paragraph? What it is discussing. So that is the first step. And step 2, underline the keywords, sentences, while reflect the main ideas and important supporting details. So after seeing a paragraph, and first foremost thing is that read the paragraph carefully, and second important point is to underline the keywords. This is very important. So better to underline whatever the keywords you are having. So these will reflect the main idea and what is the important details in that paragraph. And step 3, read the passage again, asking yourself questions. So when you are reading a paragraph, so better ask questions yourself and answering them as you read. So while before going to read the questions, so raise the questions yourself and try to answer the questions yourself with these kind of the WH rotations. What, where, when, which, how it happens. So if you try to pose the questions, you will try to get the answers for it. So this is a step 3. And coming to the step 4, provide a suitable title. Preferably it should be in a block letters. So before going to note making, and you have to provide one kind of the title, suitable title, and the title should be only in block letters. Okay, for example, if it is about a leave application, okay, LEAVE application, APPLICATION. So better completely write it in block letters. And step 4, with the help of the answers, make notes of the main ideas under headings and subheadings, under subheadings. Write the points without full forms of the verbs. So write the points one by one under that heading and subheading, and write the points without full forms of the verbs, because you have to make it very short. Your note making, you are writing completely with all different kind of the short words or keywords or abbreviations. So your text should be 2 by 3 related ideas can be combined into one idea. Suppose if there are 2-3 small ideas, you can completely combine it as a one idea. You can completely write it in one sentence. And use of colons and long dashes. Okay. So when you are going to write about 2 ideas, so you can divide it with some kind of the colon or some kind of the semicolon, and with some kind of the dashes. And the 5th step is that use a proper indication. So before going to write a note making, use a proper indications. Okay. So whether you want to write with a arrow mark, whether you want to give a star mark, or whether you want to give a 1, or whether you want to give a B, C. So these all indications must be there while making the notes. And the 6th step, give the abbreviation list within a box. At the end of the note making, so better give a box with a detailed information about your abbreviations, because some abbreviations the people may know and some abbreviation they may not know. So give a detailed note here. For example, EG in the sense like example. So here write it. So these were the useful tips you need to follow before going to note making. And I provided one format for you for note making. It is started with this heading or title, because heading and title should be in very small, and you should not make it as a abbreviation for this heading. And heading is clearly given in a block letters, completely in a capital letters. And see here, subheading 1 is given and subheading 2 is given, and it is given with completely number 1 and number 2. In subheading 1, the point they have mentioned a different number, point 1. Okay. And here point 2 again, subheading is like they have given like A and B. So this is called heading, this is called subheading. So these were the subheadings, and again the subheadings are divided with A and B. Okay. And this is another subheading 2. Under that it is given like a subheading 1 or 2. So in that way you can write the note making. Okay. This is a format, and I provided the abbreviations list how to write it in note making. For example, government, the full word you can write it as a small abbreviation like GOV, and for information you can write it as INFO. Okay. So this is enough, the small abbreviation, and you after note making you can remember these short forms. And family, they have write it FMLY. Okay, or FML you can create by your own. Pointer you can write PNT, the short form. And engineering they can write like ENGG. So these were the some kind of examples how to write a short abbreviations, because note making aim is to write it in a very less time. So you have to write it in a very less time, and that should remember after your text. And some more other keywords while note making. For example, MOV, we can write it as a movement, you can write like MOV. And development you can write like DEV. And imagination you can write like IMAG. And generation you can write GEN. Revolutionary you can write it like for REVL.RY. So suppose if a word is very lengthy, it is creating some kind of ambiguity, So better write in that way, okay, by putting a full stop or by putting a what we call dash, any kind of the dash. So you can avoid ambiguity in it. Okay, consciousness. So you can create one word like CONCS, NC, and organism. Okay, organism also you can write a short form. So these were the keywords for note making. And finally, how to summarize it. From the note making, you know how to summarize your text. The points should be expanded in full sentences and linked using suitable connections. You know, after making the notes, you have to summarize the text by keep these all points in your mind. The point should be explained in a full sentences and linked using suitable connections. Okay, you can use any kind of what we call the conjunctions or suitable points or suitable punctuations. You can use it to connect different ideas, and we need to be precise in our expression. So while making a notes, your note making should be in a very precise way. Precise in the sense like in a very concise way. The summary will contain all the main ideas of the original. So your summary completely, it covered all the main ideas, whatever you furnished in your note making. So it covers all the main ideas. And in summarizing, so better avoid examples, explanations and repetitions. So don't do these things in summarizing. And finally, a summary is usually 1/3 the length of original passage. So in summary, as you know that it should be like 1/3 of original text. Okay, 1/3 of original text. It should be in a very short, okay, very in concise way. So in this way, you can write, you can make a summarize from your text. So here I'll give you one activity. It's a classroom activity on note making, how to make the notes. See the point 1. Prepare a note on article you have written on whichever tourist spot in Bodh Gaya you visited yesterday. Okay, prepare a note on any kind of on the article you have written on whichever tourist spot you visited in Bodh Gaya yesterday. Otherwise, you can take any kind of place which you visited very recently. So better prepare any note, okay, on any kind of article which you already have visited that, okay, particular place. Give all the necessary information and also add a suitable title to it. So this is a classroom activity. So you can take any article which you visited any kind of the place and better make the notes. Better write it in a very short way by following all the techniques which I explained in this PPT. And second classroom activity is about write a summary based on your article. Okay, so first task is that about to prepare the note making on any kind of article which you come across very recently. And second point is about summarize it. After making the notes, summarize based on your article. So two classroom activities you have to do it. So this is a video about all note making. Thank you everyone. Thank you so much. This is about the video on note making. If there are any kind of queries, any kind of the feedback, you can include it in the comment box. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.